Welcome to the MadTech Podcast from ExchangeWire, bringing you the latest news and views from the world of ad tech, media, and marketing.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the MadTech Podcast. I'm your host for this week, back in the hosting chair, John Still, Head of Content from ExchangeWire. I'm delighted today to be joined by our COO, Lindsay.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good to be here.
Regular
Good
guesting.
to have you in the hosting seat.
I'm so happy to be back.
A rare occasion.
Yeah, it feels a bit brighter this side. I like it.
You are illuminated, so that's probably why.
Yeah, no mess in this one. No. And we are joined today by Kashif Dalvi from 7stars. Kash, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, and thanks for having me. And you're right about that sign, right? So I can see. I should have worn my glasses or something. It's like glaring in my eyes.
Yeah. You get your sunglasses. We've got some ExchangeWire sunglasses somewhere. If you're interested, go and dig them out for you.
This is the next step for the podcast, is bringing in props because of our lovely neon sign.
Branded props.
Branded props.
Yes.
That's the future. Well, we've got 3 wicked stories to get into today, some really interesting stuff, and I'm looking forward to getting your opinion on this stuff as well, Kash. We have got AI meeting retail media. We have got long-form CTV on social platforms, and Amazon teaming with Netflix, which should be a really interesting one. I'm going to kick us off with AI. So Alibaba are integrating Qwen into its biggest e-commerce platforms. Users of Qwen can now find, compare and purchase products on Taobao and Tmall's inventory through voice chat and text. Alibaba believes that the future of online shopping lies in fluid conversations rather than rigid search terms. Lindsay, do you agree that the future is fluid conversations and not rigid search terms?
I mean, I suppose it is. Like, we've talked about this a few times on the podcast over the past sort of few weeks, that you know, for example, ChatGPT have just launched their ads product in the UK. And so I've yet to see it because I don't use it anymore, but I'll be intrigued to see what that's like. So I think that if there were, and we talked about Rufus as well, kind of like when you're using Rufus, Amazon's AI tool to shop on Amazon. The Qwen thing is interesting because it is assuming that you want to chat with an AI service rather than, it's obviously a mixture of being able to text and chat. And I think that what I find interesting about it is it's very much fit for purpose in kind of the Chinese market or the Asian market, where they are a lot more, I suppose they're further ahead than us in sort of that sense. And for them, conversational search is far more common than it is over here. And, you know, Lord knows we tried to kind of get, to be able to kind of use Amazon to shop via Alexa and all this kind of stuff. And it hasn't ever really taken in sort of the Western world. And I'm intrigued by the fact that it probably will be very popular in the likes of China. I think it will do really well. I was reading the article from South China Morning Post, who Alibaba own, by the way. So it was obviously very promotional, if you like. Wasn't saying anything negative about the product, but that's fine. It was interesting because they asked like a 26-year-old guy from Shanghai who said, yeah, it's good. Like, honestly, I feel like I can navigate my way around shopping quite easily anyway. I don't think I need this, but I feel like for older people it would be really useful. And I just thought, well, maybe I am that older person because I think I'd find it really useful. But I suppose the argument could be also that ultimately it doesn't matter what you use to try and make a purchase. The algorithm will take you to the same products anyway. It probably won't source anything different from what you would have done if you'd searched yourself. It just makes you feel like this is the best way of doing it, and I'm going to get so much more insight by doing it this way than I would have done anyway. I don't know, I'm just being very facetious and speculative about it, but I do think it will work really well over there because it's very much hits the mark of kind of how people in Asia, in China, kind of interact with social platforms, interact with AI. Is a lot more voice focused than it is over here. I can't see it being quite so effective over here, but I could be completely wrong because, for example, I have tried to use the voice function on LLMs quite a few times, but I just sort of forget and end up typing, which is really inefficient. But often I'm in a place where it wouldn't be the dumb thing to do it on a train. Whereas, if you, I've not been to China, but like in Singapore, for example, if you go on the train, everyone's using their phones. Like, everyone's doing that kind of stuff. It's completely normal to have like out loud conversations with people on video. It's much more normal than it is, say, on a train in London. So I feel like it's much more normal just kind of like use your voice in that kind of environment than it would be in London environment. I was on a train this morning and somebody had AirPods in and didn't realise that they were actually speaking on loudspeaker to somebody, and the whole train gave her death stares, and she sort of went, "Oh, and my earphone's not plugged. Am I listening? Can you all hear this? And we were like, yeah. Like, it's just not the done thing on a London train and the morning commute. But when my experience of being in Asia is it's much more common. So I think that alone tells you that kind of a voice environment and using voice to kind of shop with AI is going to probably do quite well.
Yeah, an unwritten rule, right? Like if you're on the tube, or like, and someone's flicking through their TikTok videos or whatever, everyone just like stares.
Everyone
them down.
stares, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you're not allowed to do that. And
No.
Like, what if you forgot your headphones, or what if you
Then you read. Yeah.
Or you just sit in the corner and stay quiet.
Yeah, exactly. Put your phone down. Honestly.
You contemplate your day.
Yeah.
Quietly.
Look out the window at the blackness going past you. Yeah.
Cash, what do you think about the future of search? Do you think it's voice? How do you think the AI world is going to impact this?
Yeah, so it's obviously an interesting topic and conversation, because it's one that we speak about all the time in the office, and you do get two schools of thought. It's totally agree on your points, Lindsay, which is how much are people, one, adopting the voice element of it, which makes it much easier to do, and secondly, are people really using it in the way that we think, or are we being told that it's being adopted quite heavily by the tech platforms? And if you were to think about like fluid conversation, yes, that does naturally come from voice and how you use that. And if you think about like the consumer at large, I do think there is an expectation now for the majority or a lot of consumers to have that functionality. And even if they don't use it all the time, I think it needs to be there and needs to be adopted by tech platforms, so people are able to use it if they kind of want, because it keeps it relevant, it keeps it fresh, it also keeps people excited in the platforms to keep asking different things, looking for different things. And also, if you are then adopting a more conversational style to it, you're ultimately going to be there looking for more products for a longer period of time, and that's what these platforms kind of want. So how do you optimize that, and how do you use that? And I also think we've kind of moved on in the last 6 to 12 months. So we did some research recently about like the trust element with what these AIs and these LLMs might recommend to you in case of what Amazon might surface, or here what Alibaba might surface. And I do think we got to the position where they're trusted a little bit more. So I think it was like 60% of people in that research came out as to they trust them more than social influencer now, potentially.
Really? That's
so
interesting.
It's interesting. And also people rely on it to make shortlists. I guess people are inherently lazy sometimes when it comes to making certain decisions in certain products, in certain categories. So it's like, I do think the future of search is going to be more fluid, but I also do think it's going to be in certain categories. So like high value electronics, where research still matters quite heavily, is probably going to have a role to play, but not as much of a role as looking at reviews and looking at like longer form content. If you're looking at like fashion, I think directional conversational style approach could work quite well, where you're just asking for different things and different looks and stuff. If you're looking at like travel, for example, again, I think it could work quite well. So it really does depend on like categories and the type of consumer and the products that you're gonna buy. But I do think that functionality kind of needs to exist in part. So yes, the answer I think is it will be. The future of search does lie in slightly more fluid approach to things.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, do you think we've talked about this a bit before on the pod before in terms of how it's like it is, the conversational aspect means that the AI assistants end up in a sweet spot between contextual and also conversational. People are going to them as trusted friends. Like I spoke to one of the LLMs for quite a while when I was trying to buy a new car recently, because it was giving me all the very concise details about loads of different cars that I needed quite quickly. And basically like, I need, I wanted a bigger car, I am tall, I need this stuff. And it's kind of gives me a lot of, you get all the information straight away, and it has that context and that knowledge. For stuff like Amazon and, if we bring it into Europe, it's kind of a natural home for an upsell as well, because it could tell you, you wanted a kitchen bin, here's the best kitchen bin. Like, you're going to need bin bags as well, and you're going to need all this stuff. It's so like, I think fluid's the word, because it's going to make this a much more simplified process. Lindsay, do you see it? You mentioned briefly, like it's different market over here and we expect it to do quite well in APAC. Do you think Europe's a natural home for it as well?
I do. I definitely do. And I think that, obviously you highlighted Amazon there being a great example of like, you're buying, Amazon kind of built this, like, oh, you're buying this, what about this? Or often bought together. This is the kind of this is the natural language version of that. Like I'm shopping for this, let's buy this next. You're right about the kind of, you need a new bin. LLMs will just go to you, well, what about bin bags? These are the perfect ones for the bin you need. And I recommend these ones because the reviews say that these ones are stronger, will hold better. And that's what you're going to get out of the LLMs that you won't get it'll save you having to kind of go, oh, you're right, I do need bin bags. Let's click on these ones. Right now, you need to read the reviews and check if they're any good and actually which ones are cheaper. It will be able to do all that for you. And that, for me, makes life so much easier. And I suppose if I can do that from a voice perspective as well, and, you mentioned fashion as well. Like, I think the Qwen thing, it'll enable you to kind of try out different looks. So upload kind of images of yourself or whatever, and it'll show you what it looks like in store. Like, again, Amazon are already doing that not with clothes, I don't think, but certainly with kind of see this product in a room. I bought something really random the other day. Really random, and it said, see this product in a room, and I was like, well, no, it's a bottle. It's a bottle to go in my kitchen cupboard. Like, I don't think it needs to be seen in the context of a living room, but thank you anyway. So it's not quite, not quite foolproof, but I do see it going that direction, and I think it feels like we're already going that way anyway. Like, certainly you just mentioned the car thing. I'm using LLMs all the time to help me with product research, and because it saves me so much more time than having to go and bloody do it myself and search for things. I can't, as you said, we're lazy. I can't be bothered.
Yeah, no, totally. And you make a really good point with like how how Qwen and Alibaba have moved on in certain categories, like try on, like assistance. I think it's also like customer service, customer experience, price tracking, all of that all in one place. It's just really quite handy. But then also you are reliant on that one ecosystem to surface everything that you possibly need.
Yeah.
So in terms of like, if you're a consumer, you don't always want to have your own element of like independence and independent thought and think about different things that you want in different areas and platforms that you want to go to do some stuff. So it's like, how do you have the right balance between just getting everything that's been recommended to, I don't know, maybe changing something or looking for something slightly different?
That is so true, because actually, and that ties with the point you were making earlier about the research you guys did saying that 60% now trust LLMs more. I remember doing a podcast with Equative, must have been a couple of years ago now, and it was similar research. And one of the questions was, how often do respondents check more than one LLM to get a response? And I'm assuming a lot fewer do that now than they maybe did back then a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Like, they trust one now more, and before they would be checking. I still pit them all against each other, but I suppose maybe we would do that because of the fact that the way we use it and the industry we work in, we're more likely to do that anyway. But I feel like people are probably much now more likely to go for one trusted LLM than they would do check all three of them like they maybe would have done a couple of years ago. So that's definitely, I think, a point on the kind of the trust element. But also your point about kind of, and you mentioned earlier about kind of bringing everything into one closed ecosystem. What this is doing is ensuring that you are in one closed ecosystem, and it is kind of removing the propensity and ability for you to have independent thought, as you just said. And that is the concern here. But of course, it's great for Alibaba, and it's on the outside looking in, great for the consumer. But actually, is it?
Yeah, and it's like it is so much more moved along in that market than it is, I think, in Europe, in the UK, or even the US, because it's all integrated. All payment platforms are integrated, and here we're still struggling with what payment platforms are going to be integrated into what LLMs and what partners. And it's like, actually, for it to be a consumer first thing, there needs to be an element of tech talking to tech, opening itself up a little bit, so it does become easier. Otherwise, it's just a battle of like which one you go to and which one you spend all of your time in, and it's not necessarily in the consumer's interest when it comes to that either.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah, when you're in your role at 7stars, Cash, how are you advising clients to deal with LLMs and get them involved, and how are those conversations going at the moment?
Yeah, good question. And they're like happening all the time.
Yeah.
And I think we have a system, we have like a maturity framework, an AI maturity framework, and certain things that need to happen to ensure your brand is visible in the right spaces and shows up in the right spaces. And that does help us score and track and measure. But with these things, you just also don't know fully like what the actual answer is. So the way that we're kind of approaching it for clients is, number one, the element of your brand and what you want to be known for still is truer than ever. Like if you're talking about discovery and how brands are being discovered and what you're being discovered for, like what is that thing that you want to be known for, and how do you create lots of content that is readable and discoverable for that? And then what is the next chapter and what is the next stage? Because ultimately you're not going to be able to do it for everything all at the same time. So like focusing on that discoverability and what you want to be discoverable is kind of important. And then secondly is doing two things. One, technically setting yourself up to make sure you are surfaced, and two, writing your creative copy and content in a way that a human would now look for it, not necessarily what is optimized for your site. So it's all about human language, how people search, the type of queries that they look for, and integrating that into your system and into your process, which is hard because you've got brand teams doing one thing, you've got on-site website teams doing another thing, and then you've got content teams thinking about something differently. Trying to bring them all together to have this conversation is tough, but it's also exciting because you're kind of testing and experimenting as you go, and you're trying out new things, learning new things, and sometimes it works and you are seemingly more discoverable, and sometimes it doesn't really work and you just don't know why. You got to try again and test again.
I mean, you said exciting, and it really is. It's we're a sea change basically in how stuff surfaced on the internet. It's changing everything, but yeah, it must be, like you said, exciting to be getting clients involved and in that test and learn phase, working out how the next iteration of the internet's developing. Yeah,
agreed. It's like, and I go back to the point of that brand as well. Like sometimes we can often go down a hole of over optimizing and over segmenting into certain area, but like if you are going to be surfaced or being searched for not on your own website, how can someone trust you? How do consumers know that you're actually legit and exist if you're not a household name or a smaller name? So again, making sure you've built that up and your consumers know who you are is super important. And then you can go into understanding how you can optimize for visibility, or you can optimize for discoverability, and so on and so forth.
Do you feel like it actually gives smaller companies, smaller brands, an opportunity for even more exposure than they might have done in other channels that are getting more and more expensive? If you're thinking about how you have to optimization looks very, very differently in those channels than it does in other channels. Does that give them an opportunity to kind of come out from a different angle?
I think so. I think people are seeing more brands in a quicker space of time, and that whole thing is being compressed. So for your chance for other things to be visible definitely exists, but I think you have got a shorter period of time and a shorter consideration or purchase timeline than you had previously. So like typically going, I don't know, searching for one product and then moving through like a funnel as it was is maybe not necessarily true anymore. It's like journeys can go from not knowing who you are to knowing who you are and buying a product within an instant. So it's like, yes, it does give other brands an opportunity to be part of it, but also I think gives slightly more bigger and well-known brands also a massive opportunity to increase their market share and potentially, I don't know, stop new entrants coming into the market as well, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, it's true actually.
No, it's a constantly evolving story, and one that, it's just, like you said, exciting to be a part of and watching. Speaking of ecosystems that don't want you to leave, I'm going to move us on to Instagram. Instagram are looking heavily at long-form content for CTV. Tessa Lyons, Instagram's Vice President of Product, has said that long-form content is a key element of the app's planning. Lyons has stated that Instagram is looking beyond short-form content to emulate an approach more similar to YouTube in attempts to drive engagement from creators. Cash, do you think this is a good idea for Instagram? Do you think it's going to succeed in the long-form game?
Big question. Yeah. Big question. I'm going to stay on the fence. The jury's out, right? The challenge in this context, I think, for me is sometimes trying to get myself out of the sample of one, of like, how do I use it? What do I use it for? And would I actually put it on the big screen and watch content off the back of it. For me right now, I can't see myself doing it, but I know that lots of people probably could. And I think the big thing here is, I think it does need a little bit of a refresh because of, I guess, the way they've seen their competitors like your YouTube and your TikTok continue to grow. YouTube in terms of like slightly more longer form storytelling content from favorite creators, like subscribing to certain things, episodes coming out, and that constant like entertainment based viewing approach that exists on that platform, and keeping people and keeping eyeballs there, keeping attention there is great. Then you've got TikTok as well with their like, I don't know, their mini drama or micro dramas or whatever they're called, repeatable episodes coming out and people going directly to that platform to watch this. I think Instagram kind of sits in the middle a little bit, so it needs to kind of make a bit of a call, and I do think it's the right way to go, and it has a chance if they can get their creators to partner with them and publish content on that platform, design fit for purpose content for Instagram, for TV, like they've done with YouTube. But it's a big shift that needs to happen from a consumer and behavior, also from them and a creator, because they don't reward that at the moment. I don't think they don't reward slightly longer form content. They reward repeatability, shares, likes, sends to friends and things like that. So like that's much quick validation rather than getting someone locked in and putting it on a big screen.
Yeah. Lindsay, are they jumping into the wrong wheelhouse? Do you think this could work?
Yeah, no, I don't. I won't go on the fence, Cash. I feel like it feels less like a strategy and more like an identity crisis, and that's very meta, really. Like they don't really ever. They're so good at so many things. Like they're so good at the data piece. They're so good at the data architecture and the advertising like that comes from that. Like you just saw their numbers last week. Like their ad revenue is just going up and up and up. They're brilliant at that, and that's where they should stick their focus. Like they, as you said, Cash, like, you know, they sit sort of in the middle, but I don't think they can expect their users to jump and go and start looking, viewing content along. Like they tried IGTV. It bypassed me completely. They'd launched a new kind of CTV style, like long form reels, not long form, but like a reels app back end of last year in an effort to try and get people to kind of group watch reels, which just sounds mad to me, but I am not the target market for this. I appreciate that. But I just feel like because you've got TikTok offering one thing and you've got, I mean, you can't, like, they're trying to compete with YouTube, and that is just the dumbest idea ever. I don't think they can compete. Like YouTube is just so big now from a sense of YouTube is everything. YouTube is social, YouTube is CTV. Like I saw someone the other day saying, when someone said, oh, you're an influencer. He said, no, don't call me an influencer. I am a YouTuber. Like it's so different. It's such a different dynamic, a different thing. Like it sits kind of across everything in terms of what kind of you're looking for from a social, like it's CTV, it's social, it's video, it's everything. Like, and if Instagram want to try and compete with that in a long form content perspective, as you said, Cash, they've got some work to do when it comes to working with their creators. I don't think creators are going to sort of really bite, because also there are so many creators who are actually TikTok creators that just put their TikTok stuff on Instagram. Like they're going after the wrong thing. Like this isn't going to work for them. And I get they want a piece of that pie. I totally understand it. Who wouldn't? But there's so much more of a stuff. Like they are so bad at creating things. They always steal off everybody else. Reels is a great example of that. Like they steal off everyone else. They don't build, they buy. You know, you could argue that most, like Google, do the same thing as well. But this is not an area that they are going to excel in. And I think that the problem you have now as well is with every new product that launches, you have got a really short window for it to be a success. And if it's not a success immediately, you've got board members, you've got shareholders, you've got users on your back immediately saying, this is an absolute car crash, an absolute shit show, get rid of it now. And you are not allowed to give things time to bed in. So if things were given time to bed in, they were able to, they you know, everything is so outcomes, numbers. Like we must get numbers, we must get revenue immediately. If something isn't revenue positive within the first week, then it's an absolute disaster. That doesn't apply to companies because none of them are making profit in the not the walled gardens, obviously, but it certainly applies on a product perspective. If it's not a success immediately, it's a failure. And you see that a lot kind of within gaming. Like every games company's got one big hit, and if every other game they produce is not as big as that one big hit they've had, it's a failure. It's like, that's not how, if you want something to be a success, that's not how you can run a business, and not how you can try and launch new things and try and actually be creative. And so Instagram are just kind of, they're chasing, it feels like they're chasing other people's success and not looking at kind of what they've done well themselves. Like, I just feel like long form content on Instagram works in the context of some of it's long, some of it's short, but specifically focusing on long form content, I feel like is not their journey. So that was a bit of a mad rant, wasn't it?
I would say though, it does have, if they can get it working, it does have massive potential for them to integrate like retail data, product data, shopping data into a long form creator style series.
That's true.
Which would be quite cool, and it has a right to win there.
Yeah.
Whether it can actually get people to lean into slightly longer form content when on a big screen, laid back, entertainment led, that's, like you say, that's going to be the challenge. But if they can get it working, and maybe brands and advertisers can see the potential within that and partner with them on doing something, partner with the creator on doing something, creating a channel within that infrastructure to make it happen, it could do it. But I think the behavior change that's needed to get people to think of it in a slightly different way is going to be tough.
I think that's it. You're relying on users to change their behavior.
Yeah.
And that's like herding cats.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really big ask. And I just don't know if users that already, and again, like as you said, Cash, like if they're able to offer something that the other platforms aren't doing, if it's just a kind of a regurgitation of what is already elsewhere, and that creators are already kind of getting really good revenue and business from in other areas, creators aren't going to buy into it, and the users aren't going to buy into it unless it's something specifically different to them.
Yeah.
But I just don't think Instagram are that good at doing things that are specifically different to them.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like they're not going. They might fall down.
Yeah, I mean, since they began aping Snapchat all those years ago, Instagram's gone through identity crisis to identity crisis. Basically, they've gone from being a great picture platform to having Reels, and then Threads came out when they wanted to kind of sweep up that Twitter market last year.
I forget about Threads.
Threads exists.
I forget about it.
But yeah, I mean, I think you make a fair point, Cash. Like, if done right, there is all the possibility in the world. Instagram's a recognizable brand. It's just, it seems to struggle when the wind blows, it blows wherever it's going, and they never make it stick. So no, I like that we have the potential yes from you and the potential pretty strong no from Lindsay.
It's a hell no.
The data does suggest there is a challenge though, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think less than half of people who actually use the platform are either posting, sharing, liking, or commenting, or whatever. So like, people are doing things differently.
Yeah.
That said, usage and time on platform is still up there and still really high. But like, they've obviously noticed that things need to kind of change.
They need something. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, good luck to them competing with YouTube. And they'll have to have a very attractive proposition for creators, which I imagine will come in the form of better remuneration for creators. But
I mean,
interesting to see.
Yeah.
But like, on the topic of YouTube, while we've got you here, like, how do you guys view YouTube? Like, as a channel, is it like, how is it planned and bought? Is it like viewed as CTV? Is it viewed as video? Is it kind of sat within the social bucket or the TV bucket, or does it operate in kind of a ethereal world on its own? The argument kind of rumbles on about kind of what it actually is and how to define it.
Yeah, so it for us, it sits in like the AV,
right?
Predominantly the AV bucket. Anything that you can't deliver through like automated kind of like demand gen PMAX style solutions, we do have a team and people who specialize in what that can look like, because we do absolutely see the value of it on the big screen. We see the value of creators, a specific lineups, and the power and the quality of that content is absolutely there for all of us, for everyone to see. So we treat it as a big screen channel. But it's not a traditional broadcaster or YouTube. It's always an and, because there's absolutely the value in all of that content and all of that like high quality content that consumers are leaning back and watching with friends, with family. So it's definitely a big part of our strategies.
That's so interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's a neat moment to move us on to more CTV for us. It's almost as if it was put together this way. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Amazon and Netflix coming together. It's been confirmed that Amazon data will become available on Netflix inventory in the UK and the wider EMEA region from next week, Monday, 18th of May. The integration is going to allow advertisers to layer Amazon's extensive shopping data onto Netflix inventory through the Amazon DSP. Cash, what can advertisers gain from this? Is this exciting?
Yeah, it is. It is exciting. It's really exciting. And I think the common thread between all of these, apart from like AI, LLMs, because that's always the common thread in all of these podcasts, right, is the fact that like they're all removing barriers and removing like steps of potential friction in the supply journey or whatever it might be to keep people in their ecosystem and move them from like discovery through to purchase quite quickly. And this is another example of that. So it's exciting. Advertisers can kind of gain a lot because it opens up like new data, new targeting opportunities, new measurement capabilities, new capability to do like holdout tests and incrementality tests as a result of how it's being delivered. So like the opportunity is huge. The scary part is that one DSP can own quite a lot of inventory, right? And how do you keep the independence of like what and how you should be delivering your media across multiple platforms still there if you can buy retail plus TV in one space?
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I think that, as you say, it's bringing everything to one ecosystem. Well done, Amazon. Well done, Netflix. But also I feel like well done, Amazon, especially because Netflix probably need this more than Amazon does, because Amazon's going great guns across the board, it feels like. And for Netflix, while the Netflix CTV environment is a very premium environment, logged on users, you know, this helps them, give them a boost. Like if I'm an advertiser and I'm able to target somebody on Netflix while they're shopping on Amazon and show them products that they might be looking at or that other people similar to them might have looked at, you know, it takes you from, oh, this person likes this TV show and is sitting in their living room at this time watching TV to, oh, and they are currently looking for, I can't think of a product. All I think was kitchen roll. I don't know why, but yeah, sure. This person's looking for some kitchen roll. Here's some Bounty or some Regina Blitz. Do you know
Other kitchen rolls are available.
Other kitchen rolls are available. Are they even is Bounty a kitchen roll? Yes, it is. No, it's a bar. It's a chocolate bar.
I think it's also a kitchen roll.
It is.
I'm getting nods from the office. Okay, good.
It is.
Yeah. Bounty or Regina Blitz. There you go.
I remember the Bounty advert had like a quite good jingle to it, didn't it? I don't know if that still exists anymore. You can't ask me to sing it, but it's out there.
I'm going to try and remember it now.
Yeah.
Counted.
But yeah, so buying kitchen roll, like you can then get an ad on the TV for kitchen roll, and you know, I think that the thing about this is like we hail this as being a massive win. It's oversimplified because certainly in Europe there's going to be a lot of different moving parts that make this turn this into reality. You know, there's regulation, there's data privacy, there's always kind of different things that will make it more complicated. And also I'm going to assume that this is very, very interesting for sort of the top 100 advertisers, but anyone smaller than that will not. The barriers to entry, the cost barriers and everything else surrounding them is so high that it won't be a kind of a possible opportunity for them yet anyway. Maybe once it scales, it'll become many more opportunities for them to get involved. But I think it does feel, it's certainly very, very interesting. I think it does change the game of CTV advertising quite significantly. And I'm so interested to see how it's used. I think we were talking week before last about B2B advertising on Netflix, and kind of it feels not so incongruous having B2B. Well, this is a really good way of being able to understand, you know, for what's happening from a LinkedIn job title, for example, you know, like, oh, that's the kind of job I'm looking for, recruiters. I think there's so many different ways of using this, and it really kind of makes, from a retail commerce perspective, it makes TV very, very interesting. It makes Netflix very, very interesting for advertisers.
Yeah, it definitely does, and it definitely like blurs the lines massively of where like retail budgets could sit, where brand budgets and TV budgets could sit. So it's like, could it enforce two teams to put their budgets together, kind of thing, and
you're just talking about more infighting.
Yeah, probably it probably will do that, right? Which could be interesting, and I think there is I think a lot to kind of gain. I have so many questions around how the data is like modeled out, how accurate it is, what sort of how it all comes together. For sure, there'll be a load of questions, but like in theory, it sounds like a decent opportunity to do some more interesting stuff.
Definitely.
I think that's the key, actually, and it's something that I've spoken a lot about and thought about with CTV is how CTV ads can be more interesting. And like Amazon's a good example because
they're not right.
Well, but they are.
I mean,
they're not, but there is, because it's Amazon and they have, you know, essentially CTV, their Prime is there to lead you into now shopping. And an advert comes up.
It's a loss leader.
Yeah,
Have you seen, as well as the Millennial documentary, Amazon are bringing back The Apprentice with Don Jr. as the
Howie, come
mogul.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, so talk about a loss leader to get people buying more kitchen rolls.
Oh God.
Yeah. Sorry, sidebar.
But no, I mean, it's this being available off Amazon platform, basically. So I had an Amazon advert on Prime, came up. I got a little click button in the corner saying, click your remote and this will go straight in your Amazon basket. And I thought, all right, I'll test this. Did it. It was there. The fairy spray was in my Amazon basket. God, I'm sorry in my 40s.
All we have is kitchen anecdotes.
Yeah, we're very clean,
cleaners.
very hygienic.
Unbelievable.
But the thought of that being available and that as something through Netflix as well, and this link to the shopping data, I don't know. It is coming towards realizing the kind of connected possibility of TV. How do you see that for advertisers, Cash? Is this a game changer?
I wouldn't say it's a game changer because ultimately it's part of your CTV strategy, which is a part of your digital strategy, and which is a part of your overall brand and marketing strategy. One thing that I've looking at my notes here, wanted to highlight as well was I think I saw a quote from someone from like an SVP of Amazon, which was, our goal is to remove the guesswork for advertisers by making it simple to manage all of their TV planning and buying with Amazon ads. So it kind of tells you what they're looking to do and where they want to go.
Yeah.
And I think that, to answer your question, yes, it's good, and it will allow for more incrementality testing, more testing, better use of data, better targeting to find out what happens. It's still a piece of a very big pie. So you absolutely need long form quality content, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's on with your broadcast as part of your strategy. You absolutely need to work out what your CTV strategy is if you're willing to pay higher CPMs with better data to appear on things like Netflix, or whether you want to go slightly broader with other areas. So it's useful, it's good, as another layer of like thought and experimentation that you can bring into your plans. I don't think it's like a complete game changer and I don't think it's going to be a complete shake up to how we do advertising in the UK, especially because ultimately you kind of know where you need to be still, and this is another layer of kind of like helping you on that journey and understanding a new thing. But again, it's just a new channel, a new thing that you need to try and test, a new way to work out whether it drives actual incremental value of sales for your customers or clients or whatever it might be.
Yeah, just bringing you into the Amazon ecosystem.
Yeah. Imagine like you could just go there for everything.
Yeah.
Buy everything there, buy all your advertising there, watch all your content there, and you don't have to leave.
That's it.
What a great thing. What a great future. What a great thing. How positive. Yeah. What a world that's going to be.
How quickly will we go from asking why is the CTV market so fragmented to why isn't the CTV market more fragmented?
Yeah, exactly.
That could be.
Why does Amazon own all of CTV?
And why is Jeff Bezos king of the world?
Scary, isn't it?
I think Scary. Is, isn't he? Yeah,
probably.
Pretty much.
Met Gala. Anyway, I'm going to call it there. Cash, it's been wonderful to have you. Thanks so much. Great to get your viewpoint on everything. And yeah, welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And Lindsay, welcome as always.
Lovely to be here as always.
Excellent. Thank you all very much for watching, listening, and tolerating us. Thank you.
You've been listening to the MadTech Podcast, brought to you by ExchangeWire.